People sometimes assume those in abusive relationships knew what they were getting into from the start, but the reality is far more complex. Some people who end up being abusive can seem perfect at first. The warning signs of abuse don't always appear overnight and may emerge and intensify as the relationship grows. Today we are clearing up misunderstandings by talking about the cycle of abuse, a tricky pattern that traps people with tension, incidents, making up, and times that seem calm but are tricky. We are also talking about the signs of a bad relationship, showing behaviors that are there but not always easy to see, and what you can do to handle it and ways to heal from it. In relationships, abuse isn't just hitting or physical harm. Emotional abuse hurts your feelings and tries to control you. Like when someone bullies you, makes fun of you, or forces you to do things. Physical abuse is when they physically hurt you, like hitting or pushing. Verbal abuse is how they talk to you, using mean words, judging or blaming. Subjecting someone to unwanted sexual activities or experiences constitutes sexual abuse. Neglect, on the other hand, occurs when fundamental requirements for physical and emotional well-being remain unmet. The use of technology such as monitoring computer usage to manipulate and control a partner is a form of abuse. Financial control, when one partner dominates the finances to keep the other dependent, is termed financial abuse. Additionally, continuously keeping track of someone's location and activities, commonly known as stalking, is also a form of abuse. Abuse often creates an uneven balance of power in a relationship, where one person uses threats and harmful actions to dominate and control the other. This can happen between two young people, or adults, or even when an adult displays abusive behavior towards a child. It's a toxic and unstable situation that unfortunately occurs more often than we'd like to acknowledge. Introduced in 1979, the cycle of abuse model outlines 4 phases of abusive behavior: tension building, incident of abuse, reconciliation, and calm. Some believe this model is outdated and prefer the power and control wheel. However, the cycle of abuse still connects with many survivors, emphasizing the enduring and harmful nature of violence. So, abuse often happens in a repeating way. But not all abusive situations follow the same pattern. Abusive actions can be different for everyone, and they might change over time in the same relationship. The cycle of abuse model may help to illustrate how abusive behaviors in relationship can change and repeat over time. This up and down pattern can be confusing because sometimes it seems to stop, but then it starts again. So abuse often begins with the tension building phase. In this phase, the abuser and the person being hurt feel more and more upset with each other. The one causing harm shows they are angry and frustrated. The person being hurt becomes very focused, trying hard to notice any signs that the harm might happen again. To stop it or make the angry person feel better, the hurt person might try different things, like being extra careful with their words. If you see your friend getting more and more frustrated, you might talk more carefully to avoid making them angry. And it keeps getting more and more tense, reaching a point where something happens. That's the incident, when the abuse occurs. During this phase, the tension erupts and the abuser engages in abusive behaviors to control the victim. The abuse can include threats, stalking, humiliation, physical or sexual violence, neglect or financial and spiritual abuse. This phase may involve a single incident or a series of abusive events. Let's imagine we're in a situation involving domestic violence. If, for example, my partner hits me, that's the incident. Right after, we enter what's called the reconciliation. In this phase, my partner might apologize, say it won't happen again, and provide reasons like stress or pressure. He might even buy gifts, prepare dinners, and invest time and money to regain trust. That's why it's also called the honeymoon period. This phase is in itself a form of manipulation. As the cycle unfolds, we move through tension building, the incident, the honeymoon period, and finally the calm stage. However, the presence of a calm phase varies. For some, it's absent, and the cycle swiftly refers to tension building. Yet, for many, there's indeed a calm phase, a period where things seemingly return to a sense of normalcy. Both parts may seem to forget the past abusive incidents and move forward. However, this calm period is temporary, as tension begins to build again, initiating a new cycle. It's crucial to recognize that not all abusive relationships follow a predictable cycle. Abuse experiences vary among individuals. Some relationships may have dormant periods, and without clear signs like major fights or physical marks, it can be challenging to identify abusive dynamics. Let's explore the key signs of abusive relationships. First, the sensation of being constrained in personal choices is an early sign. Imagine your friend always tells you what to wear, who you can talk to, and checks on you all the time, like a guardian rather than a partner. Secondly, if you find yourself repeatedly apologizing, even when unsure of the reason, just to avoid potential anger from your partner, it's a red flag. The fear-driven apology dynamic is a common trait in abusive relationships. Next, you avoid talking about your partner with friends or family. When someone asks, you downplay their actions or make excuses for them so no one sees the problems. Moving on to the fourth sign, love bombing. Imagine your partner does something hurtful and then suddenly showers you with compliments, gifts, or promises of love. It's like a roller coaster of feelings bad and then good again. So abuse is not a constant. There are cycles involving periods of dormancy and repairing behaviors. Another sign involves an emotional manipulation tactic, a form of gaslighting. You start believing everything wrong in the relationship is your fault. Your partner makes you think you are the problem, even if deep down you know it's not true. Pay attention to the escalation of disagreements, which can transform constructive arguments into intense, threatening fights. Instead of resolving issues, it feels like things are escalating and getting worse. This shift has the potential to create an environment of constant tension and fear. Next sign is the unpredictability of your partner's behavior. It's like a roller coaster, sometimes nice, sometimes mean. This can involve alternating between withdrawal and insults, followed by sudden attentiveness and affection. It's hard to predict how they will act, keeping you on edge. It's often part of a narcissistic tease strategy to keep you off balance. When you're trying to talk, your partner ignores your needs or responds with sarcasm. It feels like your feelings and concerns don't matter. This shift has the potential to create an environment of constant tension and fear. Constant criticism may cause you to lose confidence in your own perspective. Over time, the repeated negative feedback can make you question your abilities and judgment, and you start thinking you are not good enough. Finally, the last sign involves forgetting your pre-relationship self. You used to have hobbies and close friends, but now you don't do those things anymore. It's like you've forgotten who you were before the relationship. It's essential to recognize these signs and take steps toward rebuilding a healthier, more independent self. Remember, initiating change begins with believing in yourself and identifying positive traits within you. Imagine you are in a situation where someone you love hurts you. It's not as simple as just leaving when tension builds up in relationship. But why? This could be because they sometimes show kindness or affection, and you may feel scared or unsure about managing life without them. It's like being in a fog. You can't see clearly. And when this person whom you thought loved you so much harms you, you might believe their promises that it won't happen again. And when you become emotionally dependent, you rely heavily on the person who is mistreating you. Being hurt by someone we love eats away at our self-esteem and confidence. We can begin to think that we've done something wrong. Abusive relationships are particularly harmful because the person being mistreated gets used to their abuser's harmful behavior. Over time, they start to think it's normal, and they even begin to believe the hurtful things their abuser says about them. These negative statements become ingrained, and the victim starts internalizing them, making them believe these false narratives about themselves. Growing up in a home where there was abuse, we might have gotten used to the cycle of tension building. Even though we know it's not good for us, it can strangely feel familiar and almost like a kind of comfort. So what happens is we find ourselves stuck in these familiar patterns, repeating the same kinds of relationships we try to escape when we are growing up. That's why people who go through this when they're young are more likely to have similar problems in their own relationships later on. In abusive relationships, something else often happens. The person who's being abusive tries to keep us away from our friends and family. They might say things like, "Your friends and family don't really care about you," or bring up old hurts. These become like weapons, and the goal is to leave us without anyone around, so we have to depend entirely on them. It's a tricky situation, and we might not even realize it's happening until we are deep into it. Breaking the cycle of abuse can feel overwhelming, but it often starts with facing the truth about any past abuse or neglect. Denial, a defense mechanism protecting against pain, often prevents acknowledging the severity of the trauma. Survivors may downplay the damage to avoid confronting the painful reality that their loved ones treated them poorly. Children often idealize their parents, making it difficult to accept acts of cruelty. The deep-rooted belief that parents are always right can lead to denial. Psychological defenses such as minimizing or rationalizing the abuse helps the child cope with the unbearable reality. Getting better after emotional abuse begins with realizing that the abuse really happened. If you find yourself in this situation, here's what you can do. First, make a plan to live safely. Consider your finances, save money discreetly, and think about where you can go. Make sure to reach out for help from therapists or social workers who can provide support and keep you safe. If you suspect abuse or neglect, trust your feelings and consider working with a trauma-trained therapist to help the truth emerge. You need to challenge the thoughts and beliefs linked to the abuse, especially those negative comments about yourself. Reach out to friends and family who were isolated. They can remind you that what you are going through is a big deal and that you deserve to be safe. It's important to honor your own needs and do things that make you happy again. You deserve a life free from abuse, filled with understanding, compassion, and positive connections. Take that first step towards change and know that recovery is possible. Thank you for your attention. Take care.